Out of Vengeance Paladins. Terrifying, terrifying in melee combat. Sustain themselves pretty nicely. And tend to be a really strong all-rounder, honestly. I believe they are incredibly strong. Outbreakers are possibly stronger than them, but let's get into why they're so cool and so good. You get martial weapons mastery, you get light, medium, and heavy armor, shields, and another of number of lovely goodies, such as lay on hands, divine sense, and you get your channel oath charges. Now, your oath is really important. Oath of Vengeance have the tenets of fighting greater evil, exerting your wisdom to identify higher morality in any given circumstance, and have no mercy for the wicked, doling out villainy by wiping their blight from the world forever. Honestly, Oath of Vengeance, they're terrifying. They're honestly almost evil in nature because they are so one-track minded. And how do we build them up? Now, that's an important question. Essentially, what you need to look at are three things. You need to look at your strength, you need to look at your constitution, and your charisma. Your charisma is your main spellcasting modifier. So if you would like to build a spellcaster paladin, you can, but you need to focus on your charisma and then possibly multi-class into sorcerer or warlock. A Warlock Paladin hybrid is really cool, and a Paladin Sorcerer hybrid is also really interesting to look at, so keep that in mind. For the case today, we are not looking at that. We're looking at a frontline fighter that can hold their own, run as fast as they can, and deal out incredible amounts of damage. Hence why we're going for a high constitution and a very high strength. Now, I'm going for a high strength because I would like to use weapons which rely on strength. If you are relying on finesse weapons, then maximize your dexterity, and then you're able to use long swords, you're able to use spears, you're able to use pikes. If you're maximizing your strength, you're more looking into using maces, warhammers, mauls. So keep that in mind. Switch things around as you see fit. In this case, I'm at the end game and I have a very strong repertoire of weapons and very powerful maces, which I would like to give to my paladin. And I think the specific mace in general is really strong. Yeah, it's one of the best two maces in the game. So there's that. Now, for a side character like I'm doing here for Shadowheart, anything really goes. If it's your main character, athletics and persuasion are going to be really good. Domination is always nice to have as well. Sadly, medicine with this build is not going to do very well because you have low intelligence and low wisdom, which will make your characters suffer quite a bit in that regards. So level 1 done. Now level 1 is going to last only till you get out of the tutorial, so keep that in mind. You are not necessarily going to be using a lot of those abilities. Level 2 is where you get your first major change. You have the option of going for a fighting style, which is always great to have. I normally opt for defense, as this will give me the versatility of switching between a one-handed weapon with a shield and a two-handed weapon. Or else you can go for great weapon fighting, which gives you the ability to reroll your damage when you deal only 1 or 2 on the damage die and you're using a two-handed weapon. Or protection in the case of if you're definitely certain you're going to be using a shield. Protection gives you a 1.5 meter radius around you that gives disadvantage to any enemy attacking your allies. And I will be using a shield with this character, but as I'm going to be explaining this as if we're going through each act through what you're going to be encountering and why you're taking different choices, defense is the way to go. Spells prepared, command is beautiful, amazing, and then I would recommend Bless and Heroism. So with command, you're going to be able to control a creature or an enemy. With Bless, you're going to give yourself a bonus to attack rolls and saving throws, and with Heroism, you're going to give yourself the immunity to Frightened and 5 temporary hit points, which is level 2. It's freaking amazing to have, and every turn 5 temporary hit points is possibly saving you from drinking a health potion. It does require concentration. Both of these require concentration, but that's it. That's level 2. Level 3 is a bit bland. You don't really gain that much. You do get the Abjure enemy, which uses your channel O charge, which basically gives everyone within 18 meters of you. Anyway, sorry, one enemy within 18 meters of you, make them unable to move because they're frightened, and if they're fiends or undead, gives them disadvantage on the saving throw even more. What's sort of cool is you can gain advantage on attack rolls against a specific enemy with Vow of Amenity, and you gain Bane and Hunter's Mark as your oath spells. Overall, nothing really that big. I would get Shield of Fate as your fourth spell at level 3. Level 4, we gain our first feat. Now, building this character as I am gonna go to maximize my strength and get another point in dexterity. Let me explain why. Strength is gonna be +4 and dexterity is +2. The dexterity is going to give you a +2 to your initiative and gives you a bit more movement. It allows you to run more, and some weapons, which are medium weapons if you don't want to be wearing heavy weapons, give you a +2 to your AC along with your armor AC. So at level 3, level 4, you're not really going to find really strong heavy weapons, heavy armor. So dexterity +2 is going to be great, and having +4 in your strength is going to be amazing. Obviously, if you already have your dexterity really high because you're going for finesse weapons, then just go for your constitution and upgrade that. And overall, this is already looking really, really juicy as a character. You're going to be able to deal with most of Act 1's main bosses at level 5, as you're going to gain some really cool items and spells, and most importantly, you gain your extra attack. You'll be able to attack twice with every action, and this is amazing. It allows you just to hit harder and hit faster. You also gain a level 2 spell slot and an additional level 1 spell slot. Level 2 spells are really strong, but we'll get to them in a second. Most importantly, we need to look at your oath spells. You gain Hold Person and Misty Step. Misty Step will allow you to gain access to just so many more tactics. Getting out of problems, getting to new locations, getting around the battlefield faster. You can hit and then Misty Step away. It's a bonus action, level 2 spell slot. Having it always prepared is amazing. Hold Person is really strong, as it will allow you to control humanoid and essentially make sure that you're always hitting critical against them. It's a really good spell to have, and honestly, I love just bullying enemies with it. With regards to level 2 spells, you gain Aid, Lesser Restoration, which are fantastic. The other 3 are not so good. You get protection from poison, you gain Branding Smite, and you gain Magic Weapon. These aren't that great to have, as they are generally not the best spells. That's my OCD. So I normally go for Aid and Lesser Restoration. Aid is going to be really strong, as it gives your entire party, including your summons, 5 extra hit points. You don't need concentration on it. It lasts till the long rest. It's beautiful. One of the strong spells that just really... it just makes your characters more livable. You have 49 HP, you automatically are 54. And Lesser Restoration, you can find a lot of utility for it, as normally the antidotes are not that abundant in Act 1, or they're very expensive to buy. At level 6, you're looking at cleaning up the remainder of Act 1, maybe moving into Act 2. You gain your Aura of Protection, which increases the saving throw bonus to your allies within 3 meters distance. Aura of Protection is really nice to have. It's one of the weakest auras, but it's also the first one you get. With regards to spells, nothing really changes there. So again, you can change this on the fly. You can prepare your spells on the fly, so you're okay. Level 7 is when things start to get interesting. You gain a new subclass feature, which is Relentless Avenger, and this allows you to, every time you hit an opportunity attack, you're able to get 4.5 extra movement speed the next turn. So if you have an enemy running away from you, this is going to be amazing. In Act 2, which is where this will come up, you are looking at having a lot of mobility, as there's a lot of dynamic battlefields, and this comes into use for that main reason. The dynamic battlefields are constantly moving, you have rolling battles, and something like this will help you to just keep your enemies close from reaching your back line. You don't get access to any level 3 spells, you just get more spell slots, but prepared spell slots, but not more spell slots. There we go, I think I said it properly. Level 8. Now level 8 is you're a powerhouse. You're towards the end of Act 2. You are still with the same amount of spells, but you do gain an additional ability improvement. And at this point, you could go for your constitution, you could go for your strength, you could buff up your charisma. There are a number of things. Constitution would be amazing, as it will give you quite a lot of HP and allowing your character to just survive a lot more. If you decide to go for dexterity, you're more nimble on the battlefield and running around. I generally tend to choose to go for constitution at this point in time, and it gives me that extra bit of survivability. You're beating enemies that can hit you really hard, especially the bosses of Act 2, so this will make sure you can deal with them with relative ease. Level 9 is massive. You gain access to level 3 spells, specifically haste and protection from energy, gaining resistance to any type of element. But haste is amazing. Gives you 10 turns of double actions and just extra movement speed, extra everything. It's just crazy. You also gain level 3 spells, Revivify, which is incredible, and Warden of Vitality, which I really like, as it gives you the ability to cast a healing spell every turn as a bonus action. Really bloody strong ability to have, and yeah, just gives you that extra versatility. If you do want, there is Blinding Smite, but I do not find Blinding Smite that good, or Elemental Weapon, which again, I feel it's not really that useful, as the amount of magical items available in this game is absolutely crazy. Level 10 is when people tend to start multi-classing, or rather, level 10 is the last level they will give into a class and then get 2 other levels into something else. You could go for fighter, you could go for any other thing that you'd like. The best synergies I found to be are fighter, warlock, and sorcerer. Bard works as well, strangely enough. A bard would be works really well with paladin, but in this case, you do want to. In my opinion, I really like 12 levels in one class. Multi-classing is amazing, but then you do lose out on the coolest stuff that you can do in the game, such as the later levels like improved divine smite, etc. You do gain Aura of Courage. Aura of Courage gives you the ability to make sure you or your allies cannot get frightened, and it only disappears if you get unconscious. It's your second aura. It's really strong, and you get additional lay on hands charges. Overall, it's a great thing to have. I would recommend getting Daylight. Daylight, it's a really nice spell to have. It just fucks over your evil enemies really well. Level 11, you do get improved Divine Smite, as I mentioned earlier, which basically upcosts the Divine Smite, and you get an additional level 3 spell slot. Always nice to have. And finally, level 12, you gain your last feat, which is always good to have. Now here, there are a number of ones I would recommend you to get. Warcaster is great, Tough is amazing, or you could go for an additional ability improvement. You could go for 20 Constitution, which gives you a ridiculous amount of hit points, or you could get Tough, which gives you the same amount of hit points as if you went for the extra Constitution. The thing is, Constitution can be buffed to higher, I think to 23 with a specific item. So if you want this to be your main tank, you can get that, and you are able to have a really, really strong fighter that is able to be taken down while dishing out tremendous amount of damage and controlling the battlefield. Now, that we have leveled up our character to level 12. It means that you're in the end game. And if you're in the end game, you have access to all of the following items, which I would recommend as I feel that they do synergize together extremely well. Dark Justiciar's Helmet. It's a very rare item that you get after finishing Shadow Heart's quest. It gives you saving throws against spells. It gives you the ability to roll a critical while attacking is reduced by 1. This stacks with other things, so you can roll a critical at 19, which increases the chance of critical hits. Then I gave the Cloak of Elemental Absorption. It just gives a little bit extra side ability against elemental damage. One of the best armors in the game, Armor of Persistence. This armor reduces all damage by 2, but then gives you resistance and Blade Ward, which makes all... basically, you get 1d4 resistance against any saving throw, and then Blade Ward gives you slashing damage, piercing resistance, and bludgeoning damage resistance. Really nice armor to have, plus it's 20 armor class. It's very lovely. You get this from buying it from Damon, who you can find on the map, close to the Elf Song. Legacy of the Masters gives you +2 attack and damage rolls with weapons, and gives you a +1 to strength saving throws. Fantastic. And Boots of Persistence gives you mobility, freedom of movement, and long strider, as well as dexterity saving throws +1. For Necklace, the Fey Sunless Necklace gives you advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. However, if you do want to switch for the Amulet of Greater Health, that's gonna boost your HP to insane levels at this point. And at this point, it's also good to note that you can min-max even further by going back to Withers over here and re-speccing your character. And respecting your character, you could move your, let's say you want your constitution to be 23 because you're going to be using the Amulet of Greater Health. So you just get your constitution to 8, get all the other good stuff. And then, like, for example, you get like 20 strength and 20 dexterity, and you're really strong because you have those two maxed out. Or you get no strength and you just focus on your dexterity, and then you use, I believe, the Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength, which are absolutely crazy. They give you 23 strength, making you an absolute juggernaut. So keep that in mind. But I find this to be quite lovely in general. Then also the Ring of Regeneration. This you can also find from them. And so the Ring of Regeneration, the Boots of Persistence, and the Armor of Persistence, you find them from them. And there is an easy way of getting these, and there is a hard way of getting these. The easy way of getting these items is by going in turn-based mode. Stealth, knocking out Damon using the non-lethal attacks, and then loot his entire body and just go for a long rest, and then he'll forget anything ever happened. And you just teleport out. No one will see it happening. No one will react to you. It's a little cheesy way. Otherwise, these things cost a lot of gold. So keep that in mind. Really rare items, really strong, but you can definitely change your playthrough having them. And then finally, the Spark Wall, adding lightning resistance to the mix, as there are some decent lightning enemies that you'll find endgame, which it was nice having this on. Then for weapons, I got the Devotee's Mace. This you get from the Cleric ability, where you just commune with your divine god and ask for something. You can either ask for damage, for healing, for items in your chest. Okay, found it. The Blood of Lathander. The Blood of Lathander will also be a really strong weapon to have. Not as strong as the Devotee's Mace, but as it doesn't have the 1+ the 8 radiant damage added to it, which is essentially a Divine Smite addition to it. As well as that, the Devotee's Mace has healing in Sensora, which is a really strong cross section. It gives you and nearby allies for 10 turns, once per long rest, 1d4 health at the start of your turn. On the other hand, Blood of Lathander gives you Sunbeam, and every time that you are knocked down, once per long rest, you are revived, as well as your allies gain some hit points. So both of these are really strong weapons that you can have, and they work really well. And then I also got the Shield of Devotion. It gives additional level 3 aid cost, so that's nice to have, and it's, you know, just it stacks on top of the normal aid, so it's good to have. You could go for the Baldurian Greatsword. I still have it. I'm not sure if I sold it. So yeah, that's the build. That's what I would classify this as a good build. You could yeah, tell me how you build your paladins. Tell me what you do with your paladins, and yeah, hope you find this useful. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day, and goodbye.